Hi. Apparently, I'm live on YouTube right now. That's always fun. So my mother and I were watching a TV show earlier called Portals to Hell. It's new. It's Jack Osborne and one of the girls from Paranormal State, Trina, who I find incredibly annoying, but only not as a person, just as a matter of principle. Anyway, I think last year I did a video about ghosts and family stories about ghosts and things like that. But I'm going to go into some more. I have literally tons from when I was a kid, but I'd like to go into some that happened when I was an adult. But first of all, I would like to walk you through pet peeves I have with ghost hunts. Hang on a minute. And particularly ones that are on TV. Sorry, coming back. First of all, couple things. When I go walking into an investigation, and we've been doing them for a while, myself, my twin sister, and my youngest sister, my mother and my dad, when he was alive, all used to do them in varying stages. So, first of all, I do not want to know what you're experiencing or what other people have experienced in a haunting. I don't. I have no interest in it. The reason I have no interest in it when I'm walking into an investigation is that I want to have my own experiences. I want my team to have their own experiences, and then we can bounce it off of the people that live there or who work there. Do not give me a 20-minute breakdown of where every single person has died in the house, where every single draft can be felt, where every single other thing has happened. Don't tell me. Tell me we think something is going on here. Give us basics. Do not give me all of the data. I don't care. And this is from experience. The thing is that when you give me your data, you are skewing the entire investigation. It just doesn't work that way. Couple other things. If you have not had the wherewithal to go through and make sure that none of the stuff you're experiencing has a logical explanation, I'm also completely disinterested. And the reason for that is that I don't want to know, ooh, I feel like this could be something. Don't care. Literally do not care. I want to hear something like, we checked and made sure that there's no drafts, that there's none of this, that, and the other thing. Whatever the case is, without giving too much detail. It's like, we haven't experienced anything in particular or whatever. When you call an investigator to come and check shit, one, we're going to check for all that crap anyway. Like, we're going to make sure that there are not logical explanations for things. If you're aware that something has a logical explanation, like you're like, hey, we feel a cold spot in that spot, but we know that's because there's a draft there, that's pertinent information. Thank you for checking that. Greatly appreciate it. Don't send me into your friggin' basement. Holy shit, this drives me crazy. When someone is like, oh, the basement is haunted. Okay. Have you, by chance, checked to make sure there are no extreme electromagnetic fields coming off of your box, like your circuit breaker? If you have not, and you have copper piping, and you're sending me into a fear cage without knowing that it's a fear cage to like whatever, I am going to get genuinely pissed off. Okay? There is not a human on this planet who doesn't have an inherent fear of being buried alive. It's part of who we are and how our brains function. Also, know how your brain functions. Please know your own psychology and don't be a dick. We'll get to this. Anyway, normal human function is that when we get into a basement, chances are good going to get freaked out. We're underground and this is not somewhere we're supposed to be. That's one. So check yourself. Two, let's talk fear cages for a minute. Every time one of these TV shows goes into a basement and they're like, oh, there's a large electromagnetic field here, my brain doesn't go, cool, ghost. My brain goes, cool, check the circuit breaker box. Here's what happens. If a circuit breaker box is emitting a large amount, or leaking, not emitting, if it's leaking a large amount of EMF, electromagnetic field, which is a naturally occurring thing, And should be in places like that. If it is emitting and leaking a large amount and there's copper piping, even if there's not sometimes, it's a conduit for that electromagnetic field. And it creates something called a fear cage. And what it does is that the human brain and the human body is designed to respond to these things this way, respond to it like stress. So hallucinations are normal, hearing things are normal, feeling things is normal. All of that's completely 100% natural because that's what your body is designed to do when you are introduced to that large of an electromagnetic field. Has nothing to do with ghosts. Zilch. And if you have not checked to make sure that your basement is not a fear cage, I'm out. Because the minute you tell me, if we get down there and you're like, hey, we knew that it was emitting large amounts of EMF, we checked it, we fixed it, whatever, blah, 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 shit's still happening. All right, cool. Let's see what's going on here. The rest of the time, I'm going to be like, you saw shadow people? You heard things? You saw things? Great. Anywhere else in the house other than the basement? Because otherwise I'm not going to care. And I equally find it annoying when they do it on these stupid shows. The minute they say there's shit in the basement, yeah, and anywhere else? Doors slamming, things like that, that's always going to be interesting to me. Like, okay, is there a draft? No. Is there something else going on? No. Okay, cool. Let's see what's going on. That's part of a normal investigation, being what my husband used to refer to as Arkham's hammer, whatever. Just like be logical about what you're doing. Because if you're doing an investigation trying to find data and evidence, you should be following the scientific method in doing so. Everything has a logical explanation until you can't find one. Unpopular opinion. Now, I'm going to tell you, we have gone into places where we thought it was just a fear cage and it wound up being something else, like something else in a different part of the house or whatever. We've done investigations like that where we have walked in with all of the information and still kind of walked out with something different. It does happen. It's just rare. I just personally do not want my experiences to be tainted by somebody else's and my evidence to be tainted by someone else's data. It does nothing for me. So watching something, and then the other thing too is portals to hell. That's a whole other video, and I'm not going to get into it. So I'm going to run you through some of my favorite ghost stories, all right, that have come out of our family or come from me personally. I have tons from when I was a kid. I'm going to focus on ones that have happened since I've been an adult. And I won't go over investigations with you either. We've had doozies. We've had a lot of doozies, but so most of you know that I started this channel shortly after my husband Alex died in 2016. What you don't know is that leading up to his death, and then the day that he passed away, we had some really interesting experiences, or probably more to the point, I did. Now, I tell you that to tell you this. I am fully open to the idea that the day that he died, I was under so much stress that my brain broke. It is very possible I didn't see shit or experience shit. For me, it was very real though, and we'll get there. So I'll tell you that one. No, I'm gonna have to backtrack. So Alex got put in the hospital for a month in June of 2016, leading up to his passing away in August. In May, so we're talking almost 3 years ago now. It would be 3 years ago now. Wow. Anyway, I was walking out of our bedroom. So I worked from home. Our second bedroom was my office. And then we had our bedroom next to us. And then up in front was our living room and our kitchen and stuff like that. It was when we were living in Shoreline. And I walked out one morning. So Alex and I had a routine. 8 o'clock in the morning, I'd start work. Get in, sign into my computer, do all that stuff. He would normally be doing ESO around that time, doing runs first thing in the morning. I would take a break right around like 9 o'clock, 9:30, cook breakfast, get him situated, make sure everything was good. Pull meat out for dinner, start planning our day or whatever if I wasn't going out for home visits. So this particular morning, I walked out a little earlier than usual. I think it was closer to like 8:39, something like that. He hadn't been on ESO for very long because I know he was still running. He was really early on in his run. So I was trying to be really quiet, but I walked out of the back bedroom and I just I don't know, something caught my attention. I was like, the energy felt off. Something just felt weird. And I'm like, that's weird. So the second I walk out into the living room, though, I turned my head because part of our routine was I would tell him good morning. I'd ask him how he was doing, if there's anything he needed or wanted before I went back into start working. I turned my head to say good morning, and there's Alex sitting on our couch, headphones on, controller in his hands, and standing directly behind him, clear as I am to you right now, is a woman who she was all white. Like it was almost like watching somebody in a ghost show, like a really old ghost movie where the hair's all white, the face and the skin's all completely white, and like everything was just white. And I'm like, and when I've experienced seeing ghosts before, it's usually not that clear. It's not something that happens quite like that, but she was clear as day to me. So she was lowering her hands over Alex's shoulders. And I very quickly went, "Can I help you?" And Alex whips his head up at me, and she whipped her head at me. And what I can only describe as ran past me, but she like came out from behind the couch and dissipated into the back bedroom, which is where my office was. And I'm just standing there watching, and I'm like, what the fuck happened? And as I'm saying that, I look back and I can see her tilt her head out of my back door. And I distinctly heard a female voice go, "You can see me." And it was kind of a question, kind of not, kind of a statement. And I went, "Yes." And that was it. She was gone. And Alex looks at me and goes, "What the hell just happened?" So I explained the situation to him. And he's like, "I wonder who the hell it was." And I'm like, "I don't know, but she was definitely here for you." He got put into the hospital not too long after that. He went into the hospital for a month on our 5th wedding anniversary, which was June 10th of 2016. For a month. And our house was quiet during that time. I might add, our house was quite active when Alex was ill. I think that just kind of naturally happens when you have a lot of high emotion and a lot of different things going on, a lot of fear going on in our house. And I'm a magnet for this shit anyway. But he came home. He had surgery. Came home again. And same thing. He was healing. We were at home. We were in the process of having to move and everything that happened shortly before he passed away. The end of July, beginning of August was when we found out we had to move because they were like upping our rent something like 50%. But anyway, so my stress level was at probably the max it had been in the entirety of my life during this time. And I had not seen this woman again. We had a little boy that ran around our house while Alex was sick too. And we could never figure that one out. But same thing. I walked out of the bedroom one morning and I was getting ready to go on home visits. So I walked out a little bit earlier than I normally would. And I was going to check in with him, let him know where I was going to be. And yeah, I walked out and I turned my head to say good morning. And there she was, standing like clear as day behind him. And this time, sorry, something just buzzed my phone. This time she had her hands directly sitting on his shoulders and she didn't say a word. I just went, "Can I help you?" And she looked up at me and just went, and then looked back over his head and kept her hands down. And then she just sort of dissipated and disappeared. That was 4 days before Alex died. 3 days. I'm sorry, 3 days. I did not understand what was happening then. Even with all of my knowledge of the paranormal, for some reason or another, it didn't click that somebody was showing up to take him. I was too stressed. There was like literally no way I could understand what was happening. Now, 3 days later, let's bounce to August 17th of 2016. My husband was dying, and I had no clue. And I had gotten him to the hospital. Now, I would be glad to tell anybody how I had no clue. It just kind of came out of nowhere. Why am I getting buzzed all the time? Anyway, it's a long story. A short story that day, but a long story in general. So, Alex had sepsis. It had come from the surgery he had to place the pacemaker, the internal defibrillator. And I did not, and I still kick myself about this, did not see the signs of septic shock. It didn't register in my brain that what was happening to him was a massive infection that was going to kill him. In that moment, the only thing I knew, talking to the doctor, standing in the hallway at the ER, was that he was literally worse than I had ever seen him. And they were reassuring me that everything was going to be okay, that he was going to be fine. He'd pulled through worse. Everything was going to be fine. Okay, cool. Thank you. 6 hours sitting in an emergency room watching someone that you love more than life itself slowly slip away in front of you while you have no idea how to help them or why it's happening is the epitome of, I don't even know how to begin explaining what that was like for you. I am a very strong person. That day broke my ass. There is no way I can tell you any other thing. So they had diagnosed Alex with septic shock within a half an hour of making it to the emergency room. We sat there for 6 hours with them pumping him full of saline and dextrose, I think, at one point, because his blood sugar kept dropping. And that's it, to try to get his heart rate back up so that they could give him pain medication for the pain he was experiencing due to the infection he had. That was the only thing he was focused on. And I literally did not have the brain capacity at that moment to understand what was happening. And I say that because I feel like every time I talk about this story, I feel like I have to apologize for myself that I didn't see it. And I'm sorry, but, and I don't have anything to apologize for. And I'm aware of that. However, they finally had pumped him full of enough fluid to get his heart rate up where it needed to be, to give him morphine. Now, they came in with a tube of morphine this fucking big, went directly into his IV, knocked his ass out. Just out. He had a CPAP machine on because that helped keep him calm. So I had put that on him, turned on Rachel Maddow because it's something that he really enjoyed, to try desperately to get this person who was my husband, but I did not recognize in that moment as being my husband, to calm down. Because I couldn't figure out what was happening to him through all of his panic. They gave him the morphine and he passed out. In that moment, the only thing I could do, I hadn't had a minute to just process what was happening at all. And so I put my hands down, or my arms down, on the side rail, and I put my head down. And you have to understand that I don't ask for help very easy. I was screaming for help in my head. Like, literally every ounce of energy I had was going toward projecting out that I could not handle this on my own. I needed divine, like, I literally said in my head, I don't care if gods and goddesses do or don't exist. I need help down here. I cannot do this. And mixed in a lot with save him, dear God, please save him. Because I knew something was wrong. I just didn't know what it was. And my dad and I did not have a great relationship until shortly before he passed away, 3 years before this happened. My dad passed away in June of 2013. Still makes me kind of emotional talking about this one, but it's one of my favorites. So I had my head down, and my dad worked in a machine shop my whole life. So I recognize the smell of mineral spirits really easy. And it was kind of like playing 7-Up in school, because I had my head down with my eyes open, looking at the floor, crying my eyes out, screaming in my head for some sort of intervention, someone to help me. And I smelled mineral spirits. Now, mind you, I'm sitting like this. Alex is in front of me where my camera is at the moment. To my left is nothing. It's just a sink and some other shit, like where they would wash their hands and stuff like that. To my right was the door. Nobody could get past me. We were in a smaller-ish room. There was no way somebody could get behind me and stand to my left. And I smelled mineral spirits, and I kind of turned my head underneath my arm, and I saw jeans and dark brown boots. And I went, what? And I just slowly lifted my head, and standing, again, clear as I am to you right now, right next to me on my left, was my dad. And something in my brain told me that this could not be good. Because I've very rarely seen, I've felt my dad, but I've never seen him since he passed away. Or only once, sorry, just once. And so I looked up and I didn't say anything. And he put his hand forward, and I know this sounds crazy, and I'm sorry, but he put his hand forward onto the back of my neck on where my tattoo is. And without moving his mouth, I heard, "You're gonna be okay." And he just stood there and stared at me for a couple of minutes, and then he was just gone. And I remember thinking, okay, my dad said, "We're gonna be okay." He didn't. He said, "You're gonna be okay," not you're both gonna be okay. Just you're gonna be okay. That didn't click till later. Alex was gone. Let's see. That had to have been like 9 o'clock that night. Alex went up to the ICU an hour later, I think around 10:30, and he passed away at almost 6 o'clock the next morning. So we had a lot of, and again, I'm open to the fact that it could just be that I was so stressed out that my brain snapped. But in that moment, my brain snapped in such a way that it was very comforting. I didn't realize how much I needed that quick reassurance that no matter what happened, no matter how that situation was going to turn out, I was going to be okay. And 3 years later, I am okay. I am okay. I think in large part now better than okay most of the time, actually. I don't think it's not as dark as it used to be at all. It's not as all up in my face as it used to be at all. I can talk and celebrate my life with Alex without it being a big emotional brouhaha anymore for me, which I think is a milestone in that whole thing. But my dad showed up for me. And I don't know who that woman was who showed up for Alex, but I know whoever she was there to, one, tell me what was happening, but two, to help him transition. And I really do truly believe that whoever it was, I think, was there to help him move over into the next life, if there is one. And I know it's funny to say that because I'm kind of agnostic about the whole afterlife thing. I don't know that there is something that we move on to. I just know that the energy that we are can't just dissipate and disappear, whatever that turns into. So those are some of my favorite ghost stories from the last couple of years. What are your guys's? Anybody have any? Like, what are your experiences with it? I could give you a couple more that we've experienced in the last couple of years, but this is a longer-ish video already anyway. So give feedback. What do you think? Do you have pet peeves about ghost hunting shows? Like, oh my God. And the other one I didn't mention, don't tell me about orbs. Please do not give me stories about orbs. I literally don't understand why anyone thinks they're ghosts. I don't. Some of them, okay, can be indicative of paranormal activity. For the vast majority of the time, it's dust. So anyway, give me your stories and your examples and the things that you've experienced, or any other type of feedback. I'm open to it. But I'll do some more of these too. And I think I'm also going to invite my sisters and my mom and probably more of my family members and friends to join in on this topic on this channel, so that you guys have a good set of stories to tell around the campfire someday. But thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to hearing from you. Have a good day.